You may notice this wheel of cheese is just a little bit taller than all the other wheels of cheese that we've dealt with. So for this video, we're going to focus on what I call the barrel cut, because basically this looks like a barrel of wine or a barrel of whiskey, whatever you prefer. But since it's so tall, our goal here is to cut this big cheese into thirds. Now, I'm about to remove all the foil from this Gorgonzola. Typically on blue cheeses, you may get asked to leave the foil on. But for a better visual for you for the barrel cut, I'm going to remove all this at this time. Other cheeses that are perfect for the barrel cut are going to be cheeses like Stilton or even Pecorino Romano. Any cheeses that basically are taller than they are round is a good indication that it's going to need the barrel cut. So you'll see we have a beautiful, nice, tall wheel of Gorgonzola here. But to start the barrel cut, we're going to need to move the wire off to the side. We're going to need to visually find out where a third is on each one. So by doing this, what we're going to do here is just kind of lay it on here to see without pulling it through. And I'm going to make a judgment call that this could be a third of a wheel. I may scoot it just a hair over. And right now, I feel that this is basically a third of a wheel of cheese. So with a hand on top, holding it steady, I'm going to pull this wire through. And look at there. We have a beautiful third of a wheel of cheese. And I'm going to do this again. Now, if you needed a taller piece of cheese for display, you could wrap this just like it is now, and you'll have a beautiful tall cheese. But for the sake of cutting video, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one more time in half so we can have our 3 rounds of cheese. So right now we have 3 beautiful pieces of cheese. So now we can have something we can start to pre-cut. So we're going to place the cheese, this third of a wheel, straight down, and we're going to cut it right in half. So here you'll see that we have 2 lovely halves of that third of a wheel. And here we're just going to keep going with our old theme of cutting in half and cutting in half. And what this does is, you see how this gives you just a lot better size to deal with. So for this piece, I'm going to cut this directly in half. And you'll see again that the rind is facing towards me, so we can cut through the face of the cheese. With our hand on the cheese, holding it steady, we give it a nice pull through. This is a softer cheese, so it's not that hard to actually cut through. So here we have basically, I would call that about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of cheese. So depending on what size we want, we could either cut this in half or cut it in thirds. For the sake of the video, we're going to cut this into thirds, and you'll see that I visually pointed this out. We have a beautiful pre-cut there. And we'll cut this piece directly in half. And since this cheese of the barrel cut is kind of thick and the nose is not too flimsy, there's absolutely no reason to cut the nose off. And this is our barrel cut. So when wrapping barrel cut cheese, again, it's just like any other pre-cut. You want to make sure that you have very little or minimal air pockets in the cheese so you can protect it. No torn wrapping, and of course, all the bunching plastic where it meets up should just be on one side. This is where your scale label will go, and where applicable, the pretty side is where your pre-pack labels will go.